Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday, and that means we're going to go in on some farmers because you got it coming today. You can't comment on soy, apparently. You can't comment on soy farming. You can't ask why every beautiful acre of land in this country needs to be growing some kind of chemically drenched legume that nobody actually eats directly in this country. Because if you say anything, and I mean anything, the farmers will rise up like some kind of biblical ghost and accuse you of trying to burn down this country.
Never in my life have I seen so many blue-haired they-them lesbians that have all of a sudden become trade experts on soybeans. Bitch, shut up. You didn't even know what soybeans were until like 30 seconds ago. Have you even read a trade agreement before? They're actually pretty complicated. You get what you voted for. I voted to have your goofy ass deported.
You don't know what it's like to live to work the land. You live in New York or some kind of city. You drink lattes. You identify as a wolf. Dude, shut up, Carl. You grow soybeans for China and live off government subsidies. Be quiet. Let me explain this to you. Soybean farmers, and I don't mean all of them. There's some great farmers out there. I've known a lot of them. Good people, but enough of them. And I mean enough of them for them to actually be a demographic, or the only demographic of Americans who can take in billions of dollars of aid and subsidies and assistance and still pretend to be some kind of great victim class. They get massive checks from the American government. 82% of them vote for a guy who's going to screw them by starting a trade war with their biggest client. And then they're going to turn around and say, we're the backbone of America. No, you're the bitch boy of China. That's what you are. Let's be completely realistic. The war between the rural populations and city people are something it makes complete sense, but it doesn't make sense at the same time. The kind of pride and arrogance that comes from the farming community is just one that's just not deserved. It truly isn't. Like, you're gonna sit here and say, have you ever read a trade agreement? No, have you? Can you even read? I know there's some big words in there, but still. But how about a little humility? How about a little bit of that humble nature that's supposed to run through the heart of every farmer? But I guess the lives that you live and the damage that you bring on American society by the way that you vote and the way that you treat your laborers, let's be completely honest. I guess that's just beyond contestation. Well, I disagree. And that's what I'm here to do today. I'm contesting you. The fact is, you are no longer the backbone of America, all right? You used to be back in the day, maybe, why not? But it's the Amazon workers who haven't peed in 6 hours, right? That's the backbone of America now, with how America truly works, the consumer culture that we have. You guys are just a relic of the past, and most people are just waiting for family farms to die off at this point. Because if you're a family farm and you're only producing soy, you're only invested in a cash crop, what do you actually do for American society? Nothing. You bring in money to the government, you bring money to your farm, but to the American household, do you actually produce food? No, you don't. So, good riddance. You grow soy. Soy is so overproduced that we have to find a way to put it in stuff, right? Because you can't just sell the bean as it is. Of course, you have some people who eat edamame, gross people, but you're going to put it in protein bars, you're going to put it in candles, you're going to put it in plastics, and 60% of it goes to feed cattle or sold to China. That means who you're actually feeding are just animals and communists. The other 40% we just have to find something to do with. And then when people have the nerve to ask you why you voted for Donald Trump, you say, well, I'm tired of globalism. Bitch, your entire business model is globalism. You literally farm for the global supply chain and then act like the World Economic Forum is trying to take your guns because someone tweeted that a soy causes a spike in estrogen. You can't criticize, you can't question. You say, hey, maybe turning the entire Midwest into a monoculture wasteland that's destroying biodiversity and poisoning the groundwater is a bad idea. And they go, you hate America, you hate farmers, you need to go read a book. But this isn't new though. In the 1930s, we had the Dust Bowl, but because we overfarmed like lunatics and decided to refuse anything that science said, we sucked all the nutrients out of the soil, planted nothing but corn and prayer. And then when the skies turned black, people cried and asked why. Now it's the same thing, except now it's just chemical runoff and depression. And instead of FDR, we have a real estate con artist from Queens who sits on a golden toilet telling the farming communities that they're going to bring rural America back. Like it's a Norman Rockwell painting, but in reality, it's just going to be a dollar store parking lot full of fentanyl. And honestly, the victim complex at this point is just on the next level. Farmers have this amazing skill while they're simultaneously the most powerful lobbying group in the country, but at the same time, the most marginalized and oppressed. Like you're going to hear, the liberal coastal elites, they want us all to starve. Really, Because I'm pretty sure the Farm Bill is going to give you more money than many public schools get in those states. You still get a paycheck even if you don't plant a crop. In fact, you get paid not to plant a crop. You lose money and you still get a check. And that's not farming, right? That's performance art subsidized by a taxpayer. I don't want a handout from the government. Yeah, that's coming from the same guy who's taking $50,000 in tariff relief because Trump started a trade war that same farmer didn't understand, but was told that he was going to get into. You voted for a man who shot you in the leg, and then you're hobbling around saying, well, he was really aiming at China. You know what this really reminds me of? It just reminds me of the Civil War. Now calm down. Not the slavery part, that's not what I mean. It's the Southern mentality. We're proud, self-reliant, just simple folk, while at the same time owning 400 people and living off that cotton money. Farmers now are like, we're the salt of the earth. Yeah, but that salt is produced by Monsanto, watered by crop insurance, and fertilized by paranoia. Let's not pretend like this is some mom and pop thing. You're not Little House on the Prairie. You're a giant agribusiness outpost with a tractor that costs more than most people's homes and satellite-driven seed optimization by Bayer. You're essentially just a military industrial complex with cows. But then of course there's the Trump thing. And this is something that's always going to come back. 82% of you guys, farmers, you voted for him. After the trade war, after the subsidies, after the lies, the tariffs, and all the absolutely deranged foreign policy that hurt you more than anything else has hurt you in a decade, you still went, that's my guy. America first. All because he said something like drain the swamp. Meanwhile, the swamp is literally what you irrigate your farms with. It's not that people hate the farmers. People don't hate the farmers. It's that people are tired of this weird cult-like victim mentality where you get to make all the worst decisions, wreck the land, vote against your own interest, then scream at anybody who has an opinion about it. You want respect, that's cool, but respect is earned. And if you want to grow soybeans for an export market and support a guy who's going to isolate America from global trade, expect a couple questions about it. Maybe a little skepticism. Maybe don't scream traitors every time somebody asks a question as, hey, why is our tax money paying for a system that's failing on purpose? You're not rebels, you're not martyrs, you're not victims. You're running a government-supported multinational supply operation from a farmhouse with a giant cross on the wall and a Wi-Fi router that gets QAnon memes faster than you can get clean water. You're not the soul of America anymore. You're just an infrastructure of contradictions. And if you don't want to hear other people's opinions, maybe stop voting like your tractor has feelings. The truth is, really, this just gets under the skin of so many people in America right now. Because to question these kind of things is important, to understanding why we keep paying into a system that seems to be destined to fail or manufactured to fail. Because the real question is what happens next season, right? What happens next year if China's not back and you don't have the same seller? And because we've burnt our trade relations with so many other countries right now, what happens if those buyers aren't there either? Are we just going to keep subsidizing this and keep having bailouts and keep turning the money printer on? Keep spiking the economy, all to support what? Soybean farming? Soy is just an industrial commodity at this point. It doesn't truly benefit the American people in a way that it can't be replaced. That's what really bothers people, right? Is because we know that this isn't for America. Like I said, it's for the farm and it's for the government, but it's not for America. You can say that you're the salt of the earth. You can say that you're the backbone of America, but you're the backbone of trade for your farm and for the government. But when the government doesn't support the people and doesn't pay for the same kind of social safety services that your rural population is, I mean, the proportion of people who actually use those benefits that come from the government are significantly on the higher end when it comes to rural populations. And cutting those things away by defunding those and sending money that's just going to be used as bailouts to the farming community is putting a Band-Aid on a wound that requires a tourniquet. But still, what outrages people, not just your purple-haired lesbians, but somebody like me, right, who is a rural person, who is a veteran, who does truly love his country in a way that I don't think you can understand. Because your anger shows me that you only care about yourself. And that's true with most farmers. You can go back in time and see how farmers have treated the laborers. They've always treated them like dirt, and as soon as they're done with their job, they just want them off, right? They want them to go off because they cost too much to feed, right? They push up the electric bill, or they're a little bit too brown, for them to actually stick around. They looked at their daughter the wrong way. whatever reasons they have. There are always reasons like that. That goes back generations. That goes back, there's footage of that going back forever. In fact, here's one right now.
Do you think the farmers you work for care about your problems?
No, sir. They're not in particular worried about you. They just want their stuff out and you get away as quick as possible.
Would you say that you're welcomed when you're needed?
They're friendly and everything, but once they're done with you, well, they'd rather for you to move.
Did they ever ask you to leave their places?
Oh, yeah. They tell you if you finishing up like tomorrow, well, they had rather for you to be out and gone in about 3 days, and that way it'll cut down on their electric bills and all the other stuff.
What do you want most in this world for you and your family?
I'd like for my family to be well, stay together as much as possible, and that way I believe they'd all be better satisfied.
Mr. Parsons, do you think this will ever happen?
Not at the rate that I'm going now, no.
Just food for thought. I think what America and what the farmers really are missing is something they've been missing for a long time is empathy, right? And I know that you think that that's a socially constructed word and that it makes you weak. And apparently, somehow, it's not truly Christian to be empathetic towards people who aren't yourself. But that's what you guys need. You guys need to understand that there's a lot more outside of your acreage that's being affected by the decisions that you've been making and by the people that you vote for. And though you don't have ice rolling down your streets, and although you're still going to get a nice government check, right, to keep your farm above water, the kind of meanness and hostility that comes from the rural communities is usually, these days, what causes the kind of anger and lack of sympathy that you're getting from people when they see you crying about how difficult it is. When your reaction is to just, let's be honest, your very low intelligence answer, which is be like, well, these purple-headed lesbians, they got an opinion. And it's like, yeah, they do. And they have the right to, right? They're just normal people have the right to. People who aren't farmers, people who aren't farm hands, farm laborers, ranch hands, ranch owners. Just people who exist within our society and our economy have a right to an opinion because they're American and because they're human. And we all are in this crazy, shitty system together. So have some fucking empathy for once. And stop thinking about yourself and your farm only. If you're still here at this point, ladies and gentlemen, like and subscribe, right? Talking shit to farmers. Something that I never really thought that I'd really get into that much on this channel, but it is nice. If you're still here, obviously, think about becoming a member. Go to the Discord, chop it up with some like-minded people. If you're a farmer and you hate my face, go ahead and put it in the comments section. I understand. It's a nice face though. So my wife would disagree with you in the comments of ugliness that I'm sure you'll put down there. But other than that, I don't know. Think about leaving a donation. Channel runs off you guys. We're refusing sponsorships and they're coming in, which is interesting. And other than that, you guys have a good weekend, right? It's getting a little cold out there. So maybe think about having that last barbecue. Taking some wood out, having a campfire in the woods. Maybe go protest at an ICE facility somewhere, but be careful because apparently they're going after us all now. And watch out for those dancing frogs. But we're all in this together, ladies and gentlemen. We're all in this together. And we need to realize that, or else we're all kind of doomed to repeat the same downward spiral, right? One election cycle after another until there's no election cycles left. But it is what it is. You guys have a good weekend. Thanks for stopping by.